Most people think the hardest part of investing is getting started, but starting isn't actually the hardest part. The real challenge begins after you put your money in. You make your first investment, feel responsible, and then start watching it every single day, checking whether it's rising, falling, or beating something else.
Slowly, investing stops being a long-term plan and becomes an emotional test. And that's where many beginners make their biggest mistake. The problem isn't always choosing the wrong investment. It's expecting your investment to constantly make you feel successful.
Now look at the two investors again. They have the same starting point and the same long-term goal, but one chooses a simple plan and decides to stay consistent. The other investor reacts to every market movement. When prices rise, he becomes excited. When prices fall, he becomes nervous and starts looking for something else. Eventually, his strategy keeps changing. His financial goal stays the same, but his emotions keep changing the path he takes to reach it.
Investing is a lot like growing a tree. You may not see much happening at first, but underneath the surface, the roots are growing. Time, patience, and consistency are what create the growth you eventually see. Investor B keeps trying to predict every market move. With charts, headlines, and different predictions everywhere, he becomes overwhelmed and starts wondering what he should do instead of simply following a clear plan. When the market falls sharply, Investor B immediately thinks something has gone wrong. But a lower price doesn't automatically mean his investment plan is wrong. It may simply be a temporary decline.
Now, Investor B faces another trap, trying to find the perfect time to buy. Should he buy after prices rise or wait for the perfect dip? The more he tries to time the market, the more uncertain he becomes. Investor B is stuck in the same emotional cycle. Excitement makes him buy, fear makes him sell, and regret makes him wait. Then the cycle starts all over again. Instead of reacting to the market, Investor A sets his rules while he's calm. He defines his goal, time horizon, risk, reasons for investing, and what would make him change his plan. When the market suddenly falls, Investor B starts questioning everything. Should he sell? Will it fall more? What should he buy? Without rules decided beforehand, fear takes control.
Investor A avoids the pressure of perfect timing by following a simple system. A fixed amount moves from his income into his investment regularly, without emotional decisions.
Before investing, Investor A keeps three things clear: his goal, how long the money can stay invested, and how much risk he can realistically handle. The market drops, and Investor B immediately questions his entire plan. Instead of calmly following his strategy, fear pushes him toward a decision based only on the falling price. A temporary market decline doesn't automatically mean the plan is broken. Investor A stays focused on the bigger picture, knowing that one short-term dip is only a small part of a long-term journey. Investor B keeps adding more strategies, more charts, and more predictions, but instead of making investing easier, all this complexity leaves him overwhelmed and creates even more chances to make mistakes. Investor A keeps things simple. He focuses on three things: a clear goal, a clear plan, and consistency. He doesn't confuse complexity with better investing. Investor B thinks complexity means smarter investing, while Investor A follows one clear plan. The lesson is simple. Complicated doesn't automatically mean intelligent. Investor A doesn't need his investments to impress him. He needs them to serve a purpose, matching his goal, his timeline, and the amount of risk he can realistically handle. Investor B keeps chasing whatever looks exciting, the latest trend, prediction, or popular investment. Meanwhile, his own financial goal gets pushed into the background. Investor A stays focused on the long-term path. He keeps investing consistently, stays patient, manages risk, and reviews his plan when needed, all while keeping his financial goal in sight. 10 years later, both investors started with the same opportunity, but their behavior created very different results. One stayed consistent, while the other kept changing his strategy.
Investor A doesn't try to eliminate the noise. He simply protects his plan from it. Fear, hype, predictions, and comparison are always around, but they don't control his decisions. Investor B is still trying to answer the question, what happens next? But with so many possible paths, he realizes that no one can predict the market with certainty. Before investing, Investor A asks himself 5 simple questions. What is my goal? How long can I stay invested? What risk can I handle? Why am I investing? And what would make me change my plan? Because owning an investment isn't the same as having a strategy. An investment is what you own, but a strategy connects it to your goal, timeline, risk, and decisions.
In the end, you don't need to predict everything. You need a clear plan, consistency, patience, and enough time to let it work without sabotaging yourself along the way.